Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you today. So, are you controlling your life, or is your life controlling you? Do you ever really stop and slow down and think about that? Are you really in control? My journey started in Scotland, and I grew up in a small farming community, and now I am here running Audacity Wines, a company importing Australian wines and spirits. So, how did that happen? Well, not by a very direct route, funnily enough. So it involved a journey of farming, accountancy, construction, taxation, food, wine, Mauritius. So I'm combining all my passions here now in Mauritius. But one thing I did realize early in life was I didn't want to be a farmer, having grown up on a farm. I really loved numbers. And I used to spend some time with my dad on the farm, just counting. And my favorite thing to do was multiply everything by 2. So it would be go 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, right up into the millions. So I've always been really passionate about numbers. And growing up in a small farming community, it was easy to see career opportunities around where you were. So one of the obvious things to do with my love of numbers was to join a bank. But then one day on the school bus, I was chatting to my sister and her friend. And my sister's friend said she wanted to be an accountant. So I'm like, wow, maybe I should be an accountant as well. So that was where the idea to be an accountant came from. And with my love of numbers, it seemed to make sense. So off I went to the University of Dundee to study accountancy. It would have been much easier and perhaps safer to stay in my small farming community, but I knew I wanted to continue with my studies and get more into the numbers. So fortunately, my parents were supportive of that and of what I wanted to do, and off I went to the university. And I probably didn't realize this until much later, and reflecting back, I made the decision. I was in control. I graduated from uni, and my first professional job was in a small accountancy firm in Dundee. This role gave me broad exposure to accounting, tax, and auditing. I'm sure many of you don't look forward to doing your tax return every year, but I love doing tax calculations and tax returns, so I'm one of these weirdos, So my next conscious decision was, I really enjoy tax. So how do I get more exposure to tax? So I joined one of the big 6 accounting firms at the time. So I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. You might know it as PwC in Aberdeen. So I specialized in tax. So essentially, I went from a small accounting firm preparing accounts from taxi drivers and joinery companies, etc., to then being a tax consultant for large oil and gas companies like BP. So I stayed in that role for 7 years in Aberdeen, and and then I guess many of you are wondering, well, how did she end up in Mauritius? So the first part of that was in 2004 when my husband, Alan, my soon-to-be husband, Alan, and I came to Mauritius to be married. So we were married on a catamaran in the Indian Ocean, just near the Tourist Rock Hotel. So that's where the journey in Mauritius started. So and then that very same year, it was one of these big years that you have in your life where I decided to ask for a secondment to the Perth office of PwC in Western Australia. So after having been married in Mauritius in June of 2004, we then moved to another country, moved to Australia 3 months later in September. And so that was a very big year for us. You do all the big life-changing things, moving job, moving country, getting married, moving house. The only big thing that we didn't really do was getting divorced. So I guess that's a good thing, and we're still happily married today. So that's really good. So I loved living in Perth, and after 3 years at PwC, I then decided that I wanted to work for a company, not in consulting, but to work in commerce, to really find out about the business and that aspect of it. So I then joined an engineering company called Monadelphous. And it's a really big ASX-listed company, billions of dollars in turnover. And I was their in-house tax manager for 9 years. And I really loved that company because they were really, it felt like working for, even though it's a big company, it felt like working for a small company. And I really loved the values that the company had and the friendly family feel. So I really loved that. And also just loved living in Perth, particularly the food and wine culture in Perth. And I guess you can maybe see where the story's starting to head to. So the food and wine culture in Perth, and my husband and I used to spend lots of time visiting vineyards. So we had the Swan Valley, which was 20 minutes drive from Perth, and then we had Margaret River, which is one of the more famous wine regions in Australia. And we used to, on a typical weekend, but you'd go to 4 or 5 different vineyards and have a nice lunch overlooking the vineyards and chat to the winemakers and the owners. And that's where our passion for wines really started, was in Perth. So after being married in Mauritius in 2004, we started traveling between Perth and Mauritius a few times, and it was on our 10th wedding anniversary trip, and we're going to all these different hotels and restaurants and thinking, it's all French and South African wines here in Mauritius. Why are there no Australian wines? So then Alan and I came up with a crazy idea of importing Australian wines into Mauritius. So again, we made the decision, we were in control. So we established Audacity Wines 6 years ago, and as the CFO of that business, I was combining my passion for accounting, Australian wines, and for Mauritius. So what could be better? I was living the dream, or was I? As many of you with your own business will know, running your own business is probably one of the toughest things that you will ever do in your life. It tends to be all-consuming and takes over your life, right? Which leads me back to my original question. Are you controlling your life, or is your life controlling me? Maybe you even. Honestly, I was working harder than ever, and that's saying something after working for the big 4 accounting firms, because it's a pretty tough regime there. And also growing up on a farm, rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty, literally, was something that I was no stranger to, and so I'd always been used to hard work. But then in my own business, I was always got to the stage where it's like, if I just get A, B, C, and D done, then I'll be able to have some me time and I'll be able to switch off and enjoy life. And then what happens? A, B, C then invariably comes D, E, F, and it just seems to be a continuous, never-ending story. So yeah, I guess I ended up probably working more hours and more days than I ever have in my whole life. So now I really did not feel in control. And reflecting back over my journey at uni and the various tax and accounting roles that I've had, there is always that structured learning. So from doing exams through CA and Chartered Tax Advisor to then working in PwC, they've got a very structured learning and education program, both in Australia and in the UK. And so it was, learning and growing was something that was just naturally part of the roles that I did. And then I was thinking back on my journey here, is like I was just working and doing, and I'd really have forgotten to spend any time learning and growing. I mean, you sort of learn stuff having your own business just naturally because you learn things, but I didn't really have any structured learning or growth or spend time reading business books or anything like that. So and no one gives you a manual for running your own business, right? So it's very, very tricky and very, very challenging, and you really don't know what you don't know. So it's quite fortuitous that I'm talking today at the NBN Expo 2022, because it was through Denise. Actually, I met Denise before she even set up NBN in the early days of when I was in Mauritius. But joining NBN, Denise had introduced me to a guy called Trevor, who's an action coach. So I started doing some business coaching with him. So that was really the start of me starting to focus on myself, even though I started business coaching, so I was still really focusing on my business. But the good thing about Action Coach was one of the first things that they actually get you to do is to set goals, your personal goals. So that was a really important thing for me, was to start setting my personal goals. You also do get into your business goals as part of the coaching program, but that's what I really needed, because I really felt like I was totally out of control. So yeah, I do have some slides. So yeah, this is me. So you see, I was really working so hard. I was not paying any attention to myself. So this was me. This picture with the green dress was 1 year, 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So yeah, so having a business coach really made me see the value in having a coach in other areas of my life as well. So I've been following this lady. I'm part of a Women in Business Facebook group, and this lady, Arpita Boyd, has got a business called Mind and Body PT. And I've been, following her for a while, and she had all these testimonials from all of her clients who'd achieved amazing results, just like I did in the end. So yeah, so I signed up with her, and it was really interesting because she's not Mauritius. It was all online, and her Transform program was something that really changed my life in a really positive way. Not because a lot of people, they want to lose weight, they do a keto diet or whatever, but the program that Arpita offered was a lot more holistic, so it was focused. She's got like 18, 19 professional qualifications in health, fitness, nutrition, CrossFit, yoga, lots of different things. So that's so being part of her program was really great because of the mindset component to it, as well as the exercise and the obvious, making sure you're eating right and following her different rules. So yeah, so I can really thank Arpita because she really did change my life and helped me lose. I lost 19 kilos with her in 24 weeks, actually. And actually, I'd lost 6 kilos before signing up with her on my own, but it took me 6 months to lose 6 kilos. So even though I kind of did manage to lose some weight, actually, with having a proper coach in your life can really help you with the right systems and processes, and also help you to get your mindset right. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So yes, a little bit about my story. So I'm now at my target weight, plus or minus 1 kilo, and I'm very, very happy with my health and fitness now. So that's all good. But anyway, so I just wanted to, reiterate the question that I asked in the beginning: are you controlling your life, or is your life controlling you? So I wanted to share 8 tips with you to maybe help you see a way to get some control back in your life if you think that is missing. So tip number 1 is to define success. And success is a very personal thing. What is success to you? So what is success to me will be very different to what is success to all of you in the audience. So but also think about success in different areas of your life. So whether it's health, fitness, wealth, relationships, what travel do you want to do, what lifestyle do you want to have, in addition to whatever business ambitions and goals that you may have. So first thing is to define what success means to you. The second tip is to create a dream chart. And many of you will know the concept of creating a dream chart, I'm sure. So it's a good way to visualize what your dreams and goals are, is to create some pictures. And you might be old school and like to cut out things out of magazines. So if you've got a goal around health and fitness, you might want to grab some fitness magazines and cut out a few pictures. Or if you want to do some travel, you might want to cut out some pictures of your favorite destination. Or if you want to go internet, much quicker, much easier, just kind of Google search and what location you want to visit, and then building your own dream chart electronically, whatever works for you. But I think it's very important that you actually have it up on your wall and that you're looking at it every day, so you're visualizing what you want your future to look like. Tip number 3 is setting goals, but not just setting goals. A lot of people will understand the concept of SMART goals. Your goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So you can't set a goal saying, I want to be healthier. Your goal has to be something along the lines of, I want to lose 6 kilos in 2 months, for example. So it's got a specific thing that you want to achieve, and it's got a time frame around it, and hopefully it's realistic as well, particularly if you get the right help like I did. Tip number 4 is keep learning. As I mentioned earlier, when I started my own business, I basically stopped learning. So I now spend a lot more time reading books and listening to audibles in the car. It's a good way to constructively use your time if you're driving around a lot. So do keep learning. And actually, if you want to achieve your goals, the reason that you haven't achieved your goals now is because you probably don't have enough knowledge to achieve the goals that you actually have. So learning is a big part of making sure that you achieve your goals. What do I need to learn in order to achieve my fitness goal? What do I need to learn in order to achieve my business goals? So it's very, very important to keep learning. Tip number 5 is, where do you focus your time? So this is a really great chart which focuses on the urgent and the important. So, obviously, I think everyone's life these days is everyone's so busy and trying to juggle everything. And so obviously there's urgent things that pop up that you just need to deal with. So as it says, like Nike, just do it. But then there's other things that are important but are not urgent. And that is often around making sure you're achieving your goals and implementing new processes, for example, the things that can be really important to your business. Or it could be around your family or your relationships in terms of things that you want to do with your family, because oftentimes people don't dedicate enough time to spend with their family even. So making sure that you focus on things that are important but not urgent, which tend to go, I'll do it next week, or I'll get around to it next month, and then next week and next month never really happens. And then we get to the not important tests. So if it's not important but it's urgent, find someone else to do it. Delegate it to a member of your team. Or if you don't have a member of your team, find someone that can help you, because oftentimes we forget about our own value as well. So with our professions, etc., and sometimes having an admin person who can help you knock out a few emails or get some things off your to-do list is really quite an inexpensive way of helping you free up time to focus on things that are more important to achieving your goals. And also, if it's not urgent and not important, just don't do it. So, but it's funny sometimes how, we've got an hour in the evening to scroll through Facebook and this and that, but we don't have any time to focus on our goals and things that are really important to us. So, and I actually have a time limit on Facebook every day. So as soon as it gets to my time limit, I'm not allowed. Well, you can override it, but I don't actually spend any more time on Facebook. I guess Facebook is only one example of how we can easily waste our time and not think about focusing on our goals. Tip number 6 is having a default diary, and this really helped me particularly when I was doing my weight loss program, because I actually scheduled time in my calendar for doing exercise every day. And I'm a morning person, so it was natural for me, but every morning I scheduled time to do exercise. So don't just think about your calendar as something just to schedule things for work and meetings and things. Actually block out chunks of time to do those important but not urgent tasks that will get you to reach your goals. Tip number 6 is plan for the next day. So how often do we start the day and we just go, right, let me check my emails, let me check my messages, and we're basically dealing with things that other people want us to do. So the day once you finish work the day before, it's often a nice idea to just sit down and work out, what do I want to achieve tomorrow? You're actually planning for the next day, the day before. So then you've got more of a chance of actually spending the time on the important things rather than just reacting to whatever everyone else is throwing at you during the day. And tip number 8 is accountability. As I've mentioned, having coaches has worked really well for me in terms of both business and meeting my personal goals. And oftentimes people go, oh, my coaches are so expensive and la la la. But I ended up seeing it as an investment in me and in my business, not as an expense. And I can hand on my heart say, meeting my business coach and my personal trainer have been two of the best people that I've met in my life in terms of really helping me move forward and progress in my life. So that's the journey. And that, because I like to add value, I will leave you with a bonus tip: be audacious. So I'll leave you with the question: are you really in control of your life?
Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Some of us in the writing areas would say this is a memoir. It started with a nice little story with a piece of a slip of your life. And you often hear about people, I'm going to write my memoirs. And that little slit, she gave us that piece of her personal, and she shared her soul with us, eh? And then gave us the tips that she's learned out of that. So thank you very much.